Я, комисар Binkov, представляю.
Greetings! I, Commissar Binkov, present you Russia versus Turkey. What would happen if these two countries went to war? No nukes allowed as usual, and allies' international politics and morale are ignored. There are two options here. One, an air war with missiles and aircraft only, and other, a full-fledged land war. Russia has more cruise missiles with longer reach. It also has a ballistic missile force which could cover a fair part of Turkey. Turkish forces could respond only with short-range cruise missiles fired from the air. Both sides would suffer some damage, but neither would be seriously threatened. Russia would, however, cause more damage. Turkish air bases benefit from their NATO legacy and regularly feature multiple runways and bunkers. Given their numbers and Turkey's size, a fair part of them would always be operational, despite Russian missile strikes. Russian Air Force features less multi-role planes, but it is also a few times more numerous than Turkish. Russia still relies quite a bit on unmodernized Cold War platforms, while most of the Turkish planes are relatively modern. Turkish pilots also train more. Due to greater Russian numbers and vastly superior Russian ground-based air defenses, Turkish air forces would mostly play defense. They would wait for the Russian incursions and try to intercept them from afar, without getting into too many dogfights. While not modern nor numerous, Turkish SAM systems would still present a valid threat to Russian attackers, especially the half of the fleet which hasn't been modernized since the Cold War. Turkey trails behind in number of AWACS platforms, as well as electronic intelligence and electronic warfare planes. They would put Turkish SAMs in a dangerous position, forcing them to relocate often and relegate them to occasional harassing role. Perhaps more dangerous than Hawk SAMs would be Turkish low-altitude SAMs, which are more numerous. The fairly small number of modernized ground attack planes and small quantity of precision weaponry would be a problem for Russia. They could choose either to miss a lot of the targets shooting from high altitudes or go low for precision hits and get threatened by Turkish air defenses. Without a land incursion, such an air war would be a protracted event where both sides would suffer. Turkey could choose when to engage the Russian attackers and would enjoy a better kill rate and cause steady attrition to Russian Air Force. That would, however, come at the cost of letting Russians fly over the northern and eastern part of the country, with only occasional interception attempt. Turkey has more of the modern air-to-air missiles, but overall inventory is still fairly small. Given the historical kill percentages of air-to-air missiles even in advantageous situations, Turkish Air Force would be forced to use older generation missiles after a few hundred downed Russian planes. Going into shorter range territory against Russian fighters, which are designed for such combat, would mean Turkish kill ratio would suffer. In reality, Turkey would choose a more aggressive stance, trying to intercept most incursions, yet still staying out of reach of Russian air defenses. It would mean its air force would eventually, after a year or so, be attrited to very small numbers. Likewise, after a year or more of such air war, Russian Air Force would be lacking possibly half of their initial fleet. Russia would also find itself unable to send more than a third of its fleet to south of Turkey, as bases there are relatively far away. Russian planes have fairly short ranges and many lack in-flight refueling option. Coupled with weak precision bombing ability, it would also mean Russians could not fully exploit the air superiority and easily pick off Turkish tactical targets. Russia may lose twice the number of planes compared to Turkey, but Turkey would suffer more overall. A vast number of large fixed targets, a lot of infrastructure, and some tactical targets would be left in ruins after a year of Russian bombing. It is clear who would have the upper hand in this conflict. Winner, Russia. Now, if land forces would enter the fray, that might change the dynamic of the war. More about that scenario in Russia versus Turkey, the land war.